Welcome to Estimating with Pedometers, Physical Education for 5th and 6th grade. In this lesson, the students will practice their estimating skills while learning about pedometers. On this slide, you will see state curriculum standards that align with this lesson, as well as national education technology standards for students. The learning objectives for this lesson include that the student will be able to properly use a pedometer and understand the results of the pedometer. The student will be able to use prior knowledge of estimating to aid in the lesson. The student will be able to utilize what they have learned in the classroom about pedometers, helping with physical fitness, and use it outside the classroom. The student will be able to distinguish how many steps equals 1 mile. To prepare for this lesson, I will need to compile an estimating challenge worksheet. On this worksheet, I will need to list specific distances in and around the school that the students will need to walk. To complete the worksheet, the students will need pencils, they will need pedometers, and I also need to obtain a KWL chart. The participation for the students include that the students will be given a worksheet with set distances. They are to work with their partner to estimate how many steps that it will take for them to get to a desired distance. The students will then walk the distance and record the number of steps it took on their worksheet. Finally, the students will find the difference between their estimate and the actual distance traveled. Adaptations for special learners in my classroom would include an adaptation for ESL students. I have a large number of ESL students in my classes, so I usually adapt my lesson plans to ensure that they are able to learn. Since the students will be working with a partner in this lesson, I will already have put together predetermined groups. I will make these groups based on their learning levels. The higher level learners will be placed with a lower level learner. This will allow that the higher level learner will be able to work cooperatively with their partner and also place the lower level learner in a safe environment to learn. Another adaptation for special learners comes from the fact that my classroom is a physical education classroom. In physical education, there might be a physical disability. An example that might come up in my classroom would be a student in a wheelchair. So to adapt for this student, I would make sure that the student in a wheelchair would be partnered up with a student that can walk. The student that can walk will have the pedometer, while the student in the wheelchair will complete the activity in their chair. This will allow the student with the physical disability to complete the activity and still be active, while allowing the other student to obtain the data. Assessment for this class will be done in a number of ways. Normally, in a physical education classroom, assessment can be done solely by observing the students complete the activity. However, in this activity, I will be assessing through paper and pencil work and also a KWL chart. The paper and pencil work will be done with a post-activity quiz. The KWL chart will give me an opportunity to see if I was successful as a teacher as well. Here is an example of the KWL chart that I will be using for this class. The instruction for this class will begin by discussing pedometers. Together as a class, we will fill out the K section of a KWL chart. To do this, we will use a whip method for the students to give me one statement they already know about pedometers. After each student has been given the opportunity to say what they know about pedometers, they will be given the opportunity to use the whip method again to say something they would like to learn about pedometers. Upon completion of this, we will have filled out the K and the W section of the KWL chart. I will then explain to the students what a pedometer is, what it measures, where to wear it, and how many steps will equal 1 mile. Next, the students will be given the activity. They will be given a worksheet with predetermined destinations that they must work together in partners to estimate how many steps it will take them to reach that destination. Once they have completed their estimations, they will walk each destination and record the results. After they have reached each destination, they will reset their pedometers and head to the next place. Upon completion of walking the destinations, the students will return to the gym to do calculations. They will need to find the difference between their estimates and their actual distance walked. They will also be adding up the total number of steps that they took while completing the activity. This total number of steps will help them to determine how close they were to walking 1 mile. Finally, together as a class, we will discuss our results and see which group had the closest estimations. We will also discuss how close the students were to recording enough steps to have walked 1 mile. Then we will return back to the KWL chart to see what the students have learned. We will fill out the L portion of the chart. Using the WIP method again, each student will give an example of something they learned about pedometers during this lesson. Following completion of the KWL chart, the students will be given a short quiz to see what they have learned. Here are a few simple strategies for extra steps. New Lifestyles is the company that supplies us with the pedometers, and they have given some helpful hints on how to add a few extra steps to your life. Finally, here is a list of my references that I used in this assignment.